Hey everybody and welcome. I'm Karen Ware Jackson. I'm so glad that you have come this day to learn a little bit more about holy moments, and especially the Somersault curriculum and how it connects to the lectionary, both the Revised Common and the narrative. And we're so grateful to have Elizabeth Christie here with us. She is the creator behind all of this, and she can tell us, what she's thinking in terms of how these two can work together.
Hey, Franz, glad to be here with you. Since it's a smaller group, I have a small PowerPoint or slides to show. If you have questions as I'm going, feel free to speak up. I don't have a problem with that. If it is something that I'm about to get to, though, I might ask if we just put a pin in it, but please don't hesitate to come out with questions. I lived and breathed this for so many weeks, so it's like in my head, and sometimes it doesn't come out the right way. So please feel free to say, Elizabeth, that's not making sense. Because, really in my head, this has just been going and going and going. It's only in the last week that I felt comfortable taking down all the sticky notes that I had all over my office that delineated what had to be checked on what, and what links had to go where, and what date. It was wild over here. But this came about because we are hearing from more and more people that they want more I shouldn't say yes, useful, but they want things to be able to engage with families and to equip families to engage with each other. And I've been working on this for a few years within my own ministry. So everything that you're getting, I have used and tested with a whole group of people. And it's the stuff that everybody loves. In fact, I had to kick my kids outside while we're doing this because they will be jumping in here to tell you exactly what they love and what their favorite things are. And they'll be very loud about it. So they're outside playing right now. So I'm going to do a real quick screen share, bring up the slides. And here we go. So Somersault, this is our first holy moment. We're going to be naming each of the holy moments for each of the liturgical seasons. This year's summer, the first summer, is Salt. And there are two portions to that. There's the congregational pack and there's the family pack. And you can purchase either one or you can purchase both. And I'm going to go into a little more detail about what each one has. So don't worry, this is going to go away, but you'll see this again. So the family pack includes family time capsule plans, board game challenges, read-alouds or read-alongs for every age and stage. And I say that very purposefully. These are, when I don't always like to say age, because we are all at different stages in our lives, and our age doesn't always fit into what stage we're at, the way we would think about it. So it's for every stage. If you like something from a certain grouping, use that go for that stage. So think of it that way. On the road travel activities, because we've all been in the car or some sort of vehicle with people that want to get there already, and you want things to do with them meaningfully, rather than, will you please sit down and be quiet and just sit there and eat your Cheerios while we drive for another 20 minutes. You want to put your best foot forward. Visio, divina practice, and I'll go into that a little more. Family hikes, collaborative art prompts, and bedtime blessings. These are all in the family pack. Here are your options for the way I see it. Maybe you've got another idea. So if you do share, but options for distribution. And this is for people that have purchased the family option for their congregation size. If you bought just for that one family, like the $10 option, and it's for one family, you have the ability to give that to that family or use it with your family. You can't distribute it the way we're going to talk about here. If you decide that you want to do this for your congregation, I want to say it's maybe another $20. Let us know. We'll figure out a way to make it so that you can do that. And make it easier for you. So you can print and mail some of these things to people, but I will tell you that my generation and younger of parents, we're not necessarily into the hard copies of things, which is why I would look at making a Dropbox or a Drive file that you can easily share with families. Everyone in my generation and younger has that on their phone, and they will just click and bring things up to use when they're sitting in the carpool line, when they are waiting to get into the beach and the line is too long, when they are waiting to go get the roller skates and the line's too long, that sort of thing. Or you can text or email things to people. People are reading email. They are not responding to email. They are sort of responding to text. If you don't want a response, email is probably the way to go. There are automated systems for texting and emailing, and those are my favorite things ever because I can do the job once and set everything for certain times to send. Then I don't have to think about it. So those are your options for distribution. But if you have another idea, please feel free to share that. Here's what I would do.
Oh, I'll tell you what we're doing with the family stuff.
Go.
We're going to print it and we're going to pass it out. Our vacation Bible school is at the beginning of the summer. And so I'm making like kits for all of the families and I'm going to send one home with all the families. I might do some texting. I may be texting some of the things throughout the summer, but
see, that makes sense because your VBS people, I forgot to factor them in. They aren't necessarily your congregation members, and they're not necessarily going to be up with you sending links or texting or whatnot. Giving them a physical packet is a great idea there.
We may put a QR code on the front for a Dropbox or a way they can access it electronically. So
yeah. Oh my gosh, people are loving QR codes lately. Like they are everywhere. Have you all noticed that? Even on the college campuses, the kids are just walking around and they're scanning. I live basically on a college campus. It surprised me to see all this. So here's what I would do. And, if you are someone that's working in a small congregation and it's just you doing it, hi, I feel you. So when I tell you this is what I would do, I'm literally doing it. I would prep the Visio Divina to automatically be sent at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoons. And here's why 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoons. One, if they did not make it to the worship service, this is all within the lectionary. This is like their second chance to get what you were talking about in worship. And it's not like because parents will do this. Oh, I missed another week. I can't go back. I mean, they've noticed I haven't been there. Oh my gosh. But here's this lifeline that's showing up in the afternoon when people are sitting there scrolling through their stuff, either Facebook, they're scrolling through their email, they're scrolling through whatever it is as they're getting ready for the new week. 4 p.m. is that sweet spot I have found. I would print out the bedtime blessings on paper or on a window cling. If you have a printer that will let you do that, and you stick that window cling on a mirror in the bathroom, kids will enjoy getting a blessing while they're brushing teeth. My 2-year-old, 8-year-old, and 10-year-old share a bedroom. They have the bedtime blessings posted over my 2-year-old's bed, and they tell me what color they want blessed. This is from the 40 hours that we did in Lent. The colors are a little different for salt, but they'll tell me which one they want to be blessed with and which one they want to bless me with. And even the little guy can point to what it is that he wants. So it's designed so that even the youngest who may not be able to read or be able to identify even the colors yet can just point and do. So as that printed out is always a blessing. The collaborative art prompts, one of them includes painting pots. Those, they could be disposable pots, they could be the ceramic pots, but I bet there are people in your congregation that have extra pots sitting in their garages or whatever it is, their sheds. I would ask the congregation, hey, anybody have any of these left over? Let's make a little spot so families can pick up pots and participate in the collaborative art project with these, because sometimes families don't have these, and this will be one less barrier for them. The kids can pick them up, they can take them home, and they can color them, and they'll have a lovely time together as a family. I would take the collaborative salt painting from the collaborative art prompts, and I would set a date on the church calendar to do this after worship. I would set it up outside because this might be the one that families are like, it's going to get messy. I don't know that I want to do this one, but you'll get everybody excited about it. You do it outside. It's an easy cleanup. Just don't do it near vegetation because the salt will kill the vegetation. Just put it on pavement. And you can then have people participate together, and you could create take-home kits for people to take home for the other collaborative art prompts. That could be where the plant pots come out. Just get them excited about doing things together and giving them the tools to do that. I would also create a super simple photo booth that comes out 3 times throughout the summer. Now, you remember I said, like, if you're doing this alone, hi, so am I. My photo booths now are paper linked chains that get hung as a backdrop, and we just swap out a few little what do you call them, the those things you hold, what are they called? But if you don't,
I don't know what they're called, like accessories
yeah,
or like,
something like that. We've stuck them on skewers, we've stuck them on sticks, we've stuck them on chopsticks, whatever you've got, stick them on that, and just put them in a little container, and people take photos. Why are we doing this? Because the time capsule might be some. My kids are very excited about this. Families will be very excited to look at time capsules as time goes on, but this might jumpstart them into actually doing it, because it might be a situation where they're thinking, this is way too much for me to do. Get them the opportunity to take some photos, and they're already started. Honestly, I designed the digital time capsule to be super simple to use. They just have to click and drop things in. It can be done on their phone, it can be done on their laptop, whatever works for them. I did not try on a tablet, and that's only because I don't have a tablet. But I'm pretty sure if I can do it on a phone, you can do it on a tablet. And I would put a basket in the narthex with garbage bags for people to pick up for the family hikes. One of the family hikes talks about going in and helping to clean up a trail. If you give them the garbage bags, they're ready to go. All they need are their, however it is they get around on the trails. So that's how I would get this started for the families. I would also keep in mind that it's a lot of material in there. If you think your families are going to say, this is too much, I can't do all this, choose 2 things, 3 things tops that you think they're going to love and focus on those. It is totally 100% perfect to choose what's going to work for them. And if somebody asks for more, you can give them more. The goal here is to foster time together and meaningful time together. It's not meant to make them feel that they are less of people because they haven't done all of this.
So, question, you mentioned the Visio Divina. Does that work with the lectionary?
It does.
Lectionary Revised
So,
Common?
yep, I was going to go into that, but here, why don't I do that now? So there are 2 sets you'll see in here. There's one for narrative lectionary and one for Revised Common Lectionary. And for the RCL, I took the Old Testament because all the New Testament for the summer, we just did this with the families and the kids, in the fall and the spring. So I went Old Testament. But the trick is with the Old Testament, you've got Abraham and Jacob, Isaac, and the sacrifice too. I will talk about how to prepare for that. Don't worry, it's not my favorite, but I will talk about how to do that. I would not do that one in a vacuum. I would not just send that one out to families and say, have fun with this one. No. So there is one for each week. And I made it so that you can easily text it to families. There is one link on each of those slides that will, if you click on it, it takes you to the scripture. It's meant to make it easy. If you're going to text it, use the PDF version. It will come out just fine. If you put it, say, in a closed Facebook group, you're going to have to use the PNG versus the PDF because you can't always put the PDF up there. All you have to do then is put in the comments a link to the scripture. You want it to be easy for the families to be able to click and read the scripture because they're not always going to run and go find the Bible or find it on their Bible app. That's what I wanted to say about that. And it always ends with what picture you would choose to go with this scripture. So, and they'll go through their photo apps to find things that would connect with the scripture. I feel like I did a very incomplete job explaining that. Are there specific questions about that? I'm going to stop the share for just a sec so I can see your faces. Did that make any sense?
So I think so. So, like if I set out, we use a texting program through our church management software. I think I can send a PDF with it. Let's assume I can.
I've done it.
And I guess we send that out and they would click on it and they would kind of read the story and then they pick from their phone like a picture that would go with the story.
Yeah. Let me see if you want me to bring it up here. Let me bring this up.
Sure. I mean, in theory, I've looked at it all.
Oh, but believe me, I know. I just want to bring it up. So
I looked at the titles of it all.
One sec. I'm just going to click on the first one I've got here, and it's Narrative Lectionary July. So I'll do a share screen. Can y'all see that okay?
Yeah.
So here we go, narrative lectionary for the first Sunday in July. This right here where it says 2 Peter, you'll see the underline, that's the live link. That'll go right to the scripture. You'll see there are usually 4 wondering questions. Sometimes there are 3 wondering questions to go with it, and a prayer right there. So the families don't have to, if they have not found their comfort level in praying together yet, there's one right there to get them started. It's meant to be something that can anchor their week and provides them with conversation, but it's not meant to be something that's going to weigh them down. It's an anchor, but it's not a, oh my gosh, this is so heavy, I can't handle this. This is a chunk of how to work scripture into your family's lives. And if it's texted to them, they can literally pull it up on their phone when they are sitting in the carpool line and say, let's read this together now. It's not a lost time anymore. So you want me to scroll down here?
No, that's good. That's what I needed.
Okay.
That's helpful.
Now, I also later will show you how you know what, I might as well talk about now. According to the list I have, we have people that have bought the family only, and we have people that have bought congregational and family. We don't have people that have not bought congregation. They have only bought the congregation. So because everybody will have access to those visio divina, I feel that I can tell you, if you are a congregation that's wondering what to do about faith formation for the summer, you can absolutely take those visio divina and make them the spine of whatever you want for faith formation for the summer. You could have pop-up faith formation where, once or every 3 weeks, where you look at these scriptures and you bring out photos and have people choose what would go with it. You could have them draw pictures that would go with it. You could have them wonder together, multi-generationally together about that scripture around tables. It doesn't have to be a long time. You're looking for meaningful context, not length. So I would absolutely use that as a spine for a faith formation time if you were unsure as to what to do this summer. So let me click the right thing to bring it back up. Yes, I did it. Oh, I love when I do it right with the technology, my friends. Okay, so one of the components with the family pack are the board game challenges. And they're really lots of fun and very thoughtfully done. I did not write this section, so I don't feel bad saying that I think they're very well written. It's not like I'm saying, oh, I did this. No, they're so well done. Lainey Sipes did these. Some families may not have these games available. So I would look at the list of games and I would ask the congregation for donations of gently used games. And it doesn't even have to be the games that are listed here. It could just be to start off a family board game night. You could have a little lending library of them in the narthex for people to use. You could also, if you have a congregation that sometimes will purchase things off of an Amazon wish list, put one of those up there with links to the games that they are talking about. I would set aside July and August for the challenges. I would not make it something where you have to do this. I would make this, hey, this will be a really fun way to spend a summer Saturday together, a summer Saturday afternoon or evening, or one of those scooty times in the middle of the week where you're doing a staycation and nobody wants to do anything except complain. It happens in my house. So you pull these out. July and August is when I find the summer starts to get scooty. I would make a basket for supplies and have it available for people to pick up and if they return it, great. If they don't, it's part of your ministry. That's where I'm at this point in my life. I'm like, oh, that's just part of the ministry if we don't see it again. I'm not going to put something out that I need back. I'll be glad if it comes back. The Yahtzee is a giant Yahtzee adaptation made out of cardboard boxes. I would ask the congregation to bring in old boxes. I would put a size limit on it, and I would have a definite place where you're going to put those boxes because your trustees or whatever your congregation calls your people that are in charge of the building, they're going to get a little antsy about all the boxes that will show up. So have a definite plan for that, but that can be a stumbling block for families if they don't have enough cardboard in the house. This is a fun one. My kids are really looking forward to playing the Yahtzee. You will also see plans on there for giant hungry hippos. If you have the space, I would totally do this as a congregation. She says you can use scooters, you can use old dollies, you can even just do it wheelbarrow style where you hold the person legs and they just ram the blow up balls with their heads. It's not going to hurt anybody. It's a lot of fun. So I would consider hosting that. That's how I would get people excited about the board game challenges. The family road trip. This I would print out. I would absolutely print this out, but I would also create a Dropbox or a Drive link, because we all know that when you get into a car, you think you've got everything, but then things get buried, or the dog sits on it, or, you know, the chocolate milk gets spilled, things happen. So if you have a Dropbox or a Drive link for families to access it, that will also be a big help. I would consider having a little on-the-go travel bag of treats to give to families. Things like a small thing of hand sanitizer, a small thing of baby wipes, some tissues, and little, you know, those little notepads that you'll see people use when they're at restaurants, when they're taking orders, you know, those tiny little memo pads for kids to doodle on. I would just make little packs of those to hand them out and get people excited about being on the road together. There are a lot of really neat things in this guide. This was written by Reverend A. Williams, and one of the things that we're loving the most in my house are the podcast recommendations. We have been listening to a bunch of them lately. We were not podcast as a family people before this, and lots of fun. So definitely give a listen to some of the things mentioned on there. There's the God Bingo that I whipped out. We have been driving back and forth to our piano studio a lot lately, and it's an hour and a half round trip. So we've been playing God Bingo. This is not exactly the road trip that most people dream of, but that's our life right now. Another thing I would consider doing, my husband set this up for me a few years ago, which is why I can confidently say, if I can now do it, so can you, because I am not super with this. You can set up a Google map where people drop pins of where they've been on their trips. It's not like a stalkery thing, like, oh, let's find the exact location of where this family was. It's a, you know, it just says, hey, we went to St. Louis, or this family was in Indianapolis, that sort of thing. There are ways to put photos from the trips on there, but you don't have to do that. But it'd be fun for the congregation to all put on that map, this is where we went together, or where we all went, and we're all still part of God's great big family. And isn't it amazing to see all the different places that this church went throughout this summer? Just a fun visual. In the family pack, you're also going to see the read togethers. So I'm going to turn my computer for a second. This is my desk, which was someone's dining room table, and you'll see stacks of books. I think you can see them. I can't really see what you're seeing. That's like half of the books that we recommended in these read togethers. Every single book that's in here, I've read with children, and they're honestly quite wonderful. The children love these books. They love having other people read them with them. They love being able to talk about them with their friends. What I would do is consider doing a book reveal and getting people excited about the books in there. So let's say I scheduled a Facebook Live time or a Zoom call, and I was going to introduce some of the books. I'm just grabbing a stack here, and I would go, all right, so here's what we've got, guys. This is what we have coming up this summer. You can't see the titles. Let's see if you can guess what book I'm talking about. And then I choose one off the pile, and I would maybe like quickly accidentally flash it at them and say a little bit about the book and say, does anybody know what it is? And let them guess, and then show them the cover and say, yeah, this is our selection for da 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 da. And you know, if you're feeling fancy, you can rip up some paper and have confetti and throw it up. Like everybody's all excited, have a kazoo, there's our next book. It's a lot of fun for families to rally around this together. So I love getting people excited about books. It's just a fun little touch. But if you're going to do the confetti, I'm going to highly recommend that you put a sheet on the floor under you, or you do this outside, because cleaning that up is such a pain in the neck. I speak from experience. I would talk with your public library about reserving a few copies of the books and see if they can put them aside for your church. Librarians are some of the world's most wonderful people, and they just want to help you. They really, really do. So if they can, they will put these books aside for you. I would ask about that. And I would have a multi-generational time of creating bookmarks. Either you can have it in the narthex during the coffee hour. It could be, you could have a station in your playground if you're a church that has a playground where they're decorating bookmarks, and they can take them home and use them in the books that they'll see in the read-alouds or read-togethers. Everybody loves bookmarks, so I would totally make it multi-generational. It could also be a care package for a family you haven't seen in a while. Hey, we're thinking of you. Here's some items you could use to make some bookmarks. I hope you know that you matter to us, something like that. Don't say I hope. I want to say I hope to see you soon, but I hope to connect with you soon, I think is a little less weighty, shall we say. So that's what I would do with read-togethers. Moving on to the next pack. So we talked family pack. I was going to go into congregational pack. Does anybody have questions about the family pack before I talk about the congregational? I'm not seeing any faces that are asking questions. So I'm going to go on, but if you have things, please don't hesitate to say something. Okay, your congregational pack has a VBS alternative called All Together Now, and it's based on the summer reading club theme. It's the whole country's theme, All Together Now. You should be seeing this at your public library. I worked on this with a friend of mine who's in camping ministry. She put some amazing stuff in this VBS alternative. Family retreat plans. I have done every single one of these retreat plans with groups of people and multi-generationally. So much fun. You'll see connections to this library summer reading program All Together Now, 4 different ideas of ways to connect with that particular program, a few different mission projects, bedtime stories and prayers plan, out the door blessings, and plans for a parent caregiver book club. And of course, this is not, there we go. So this is what I would do. I would take one afternoon and I would get myself my favorite snack, and I would get my favorite seltzer, and I would squirrel myself away in the office for 3 hours, and I would bang this out like in the next week or 2. I would get my calendar together, and I want to make sure that I say this right. I have my notes right here. So I would look at my calendar and I would look at the church calendar, and I would get things on the church calendar now. I would schedule 2 retreats from their 3 to choose from. I would aim for at least 2. I would look at the All Together Now, the VBS alternative, and decide if I want to do that in a week, if I would want to do a few Sundays in a row, if I would like to sub this in for my faith formation, if I wanted it to be a midweek experience, whatever works for your congregation, I would decide it here, and I would get that on the calendar. I would schedule at least 1 mission project from this pack, and I would choose a time that's after worship when I already have people there. But I don't know your particular congregation. You do what works for you. I would get bedtime stories and prayers on the calendar and get that going. Now, some of you may have questions on bedtime stories and prayers. I'm going to put a pin. You know what? I'm just going to talk about that right now. I have been doing bedtime stories and prayers for 6-7 years now for 3 different congregations at this point. 3. And it gathers steam everywhere I have gone, and it is a wild success. I just started with another congregation about this is our 3rd week of it. 3rd or 4th, I can't count. I have to look at the attendance. I'm sorry, y'all. Anyway, this is a congregation that's in about an hour south of where I live. So it's not my congregation. I'm consulting with them and helping them with this. The families are now starting to get to know me, but they did not know me when they started this. And let me tell you who's coming to bedtime stories and prayers. This is a family that a congregation that's just outside of Philadelphia. We have a family in Canada. We have a family in Cincinnati. We have my sister in New York. My sister has Down syndrome. We have a family in Maryland. And there's one other family. Where are they from? Oh, they're mine. They're my family. I'm sorry. Duh. Don't tell my kids I forgot them. So these are not necessarily people that are from this congregation. They are related, like they're the outliers, if you know what I mean. The people you're looking to try to bring back in, they are starting to get excited and they're inviting more people. So we're starting to grow from that. We've now invited the nursery school, and I've got 2 messages from nursery school people. What time is this at? How do I access this? Can I have the Zoom link? So it's starting to grow that way. These are not the people that they're ordinarily seeing in their faith formation time on a Sunday. These are people that are just related to them and are looking for a way to come in. So at Bedtime Stories and Prayers, we are 7 o'clock on a Wednesday evening, and it's usually about 7 to 7:20, 7:25, somewhere in there. We gather, we say hi, we see how the week was, we introduce the book, we read the book. I always start off with laughable books because everybody unites around the humor. And then we move into prayer requests. And I'm telling you, it's magical. The children wait for the prayer requests. Even the first week with this group, that they did not know me at all, they had the prayer requests. They were not shy at all. They were bubbling out of them. It was glorious. Leave time for prayer requests. And then we close and everybody heads up. We bless each other and we head off to bed. Everybody's ready. We have a kid that joins us in his car coming home from swim lessons. Like, it's come as you can. If you haven't tried this, summer's a great time to try it because people are traveling. All right, that's enough about bedtime stories and prayers.
I have a question. What ages are the kids that are coming?
Elementary age. But, my sister is 48. But as I said, I don't focus on the age so much. The stage, she fits into that stage.
Okay.
My 13-year-old loves books. And all my kids love books. But my 13-year-old, it's that age where they're starting to really reach. And he still stands like right over there because he loves the books and he wants to hear it. And I'll hear him reciting along with Piggy and Gerald. Or he's like, I love this one. I'm like, come on in, Eli. It's all good. So older siblings will show up too.
And are you reading a hard copy of the book, or are you finding books that are available on YouTube?
So I read to them.
Okay.
And you know what? This is what I have this all set for tonight. I was going to do a reveal to them of what we're going to do for the next few weeks. And these books are all in your bedtime stories and prayers plans in your congregational pack. So I was going to introduce to them tonight and then show them each of them and have them choose what they want to read tonight as another way of helping them form their own group, their own small group, because they'll work together to agree on that. Every book you'll see in the bedtime stories and prayers for this season centers around the All Together Now theme. And I've read them all. They're all excellent books. I will say Boot and Shoe. I love Boot and Shoe. This is a great book, but these dogs unite and find each other again and the phrase is peeing on a tree. I changed the phrase a little bit. If you're comfortable with peeing on a tree, go for it. With my own kids, they love that phrase. But other people's kids that I haven't necessarily met, I change the phrase. And I also tell the kids before I start, now when I read the story, guys, I promise I'm going to turn it so you can see the pictures, but because I'm old, I need to look at the words and then I will turn and show you the pictures. I promise. You don't have to say, Mrs. Christie, I can't see the pictures. I know you can't because I didn't show them to you. I will turn it in a moment. And that always keeps it calm. Everybody's good with that. Because really, when you're on a Zoom screen, it is really hard to make sure they're seeing those pictures as you're reading, and your neck is going to crane. And then you're going to hear the kids say, I can't see. Just forestall all that. All right. So the bedtime stories and prayers. These are things that I'm calendaring. I'm sorry. I totally digressed. Multi-generational summer reading club connections. I would choose 2 or 3 of those from that list you'll see in there. And they could be just out there during coffee hour, if you do coffee hour, or before the service, or something that goes in your playground. Just ways for people to be involved together. The parent caregiver book club.
Let me ask you a question about the bedtime stories and prayers.
I'm going to turn off the stop the share for a second because I like to see your faces. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. Selenore here. My question is, could you see adding some other people to your lineup, like guest readers or things like that?
Yes. So the first church I did this with, I was able to get it into guest readers' hands within a few months, and it took off that way. So it became a ministry for other people to do. It was fantastic. We also had the honor once of Glennis Netlist reading one of her books for us. She was so sweet to do that. So absolutely. It's a great way for grandparents to connect with grandkids. It's a great way for aunts and uncles to get pulled in. It's a great way for anyone in the congregation. However, you do need to think about your child protection policy on this because it is Zoom. You have to work this out in your congregation, how you want to handle this in terms of background checks and whatnot. But I'm Methodist. The same rules that apply to in-building apply to Zoom. So we need to have our background checks and whatnot. Does that help? Okay, cool. So let me attempt to share the screen again. Haha, there we go. I would also, the Parent Caregiver Book Club. These are the 2 books that I put in there. So the Liturgy of the Ordinary, and you can tell I have used this a lot of times because it is so hedgehogged. I have so many papers in this. Liturgy of the Ordinary and The Danish Way of Parenting. It's all outlined in here. They're excellent books. I wouldn't hesitate to use either of them. Neither of them have videos though. If you have a group that prefers videos, I'm sorry, I didn't put those in there. But if you Google around, you can find the authors of both of these books on YouTube discussing it. So that could be something that you throw in there. And that's everything for the calendar. That's my afternoon party with a nice can of seltzer and my favorite snack. That's what I would do. And I would just get it all done so that I don't have to think about it. Now it's an execution zone. Okay. I would gather helpers or gather what I need pretty quickly right after this. I would then also make the Dropbox or the Drive file so that I don't have to think about that. I would make a basket of supplies for me so that I don't have to go looking for things and I can quickly hand things off to people. And I would preset the out the door blessings to send at 7:20 on a Monday morning. I have found 7:20 to be the sweet spot because those with young kids generally haven't left for preschool or daycare yet. Teens are getting ready to go either to work in the summer or whatever it is they're doing. So those blessings are ready. 7:20 is, I found to be the sweet spot. And I use the church communication service for that.
So you don't use something like Remind?
You can. Whatever your church likes, go for it. Or whatever your church has a subscription to, use that. We're not looking to make you spend money on something else. Okay, so the congregational pack and also combined with the family pack, you can pull things out of there to use them as you want. So the all together now, that's the BBS alternative. That could be pop-up faith formation, however you want to do it, as can the Visio Divina, as I talked about there. You can, if you have midweek groups, either they're in person or they're online or whatever it is that works for you. There are many different things you could take out of these packs, including the read-togethers, bedtime stories and prayers, collaborative art projects, mission projects. These can all be midweek enrichment activities. Or ministries, not activities, I'm sorry, ministries. And they also count as faith formation. Multi-generational hikes. It could be something that your congregation is really up for. Multi-generational collaborative art time. You can take the plans right out of your SALT and just use them. You don't have to send them home to families. You could decide that you want to do them with them. You could, this I would love to do. The congregation I'm with right now will never go for this, but I'm hopeful someone will want to do this. A time capsule for the congregation for the summer. I mean, wouldn't that not be amazing to make together? I would be so excited. If anyone does that, please email me and tell me, because I want to know. There are mindfulness activities in All Together now that you could use as fidget busters. That's what I call the pew baskets. Those are the fidget busters. They would go into the pews, or you could put them in the playgrounds. There's labyrinth activities. There's mandala or mandala. I always mispronounce it. I'm sorry. Whichever one is correct, use that pronunciation. There's a mindfulness scavenger hunt that I would not put in the pews, but that could go as they're leaving. And the God Bingo from family road trips would absolutely translate into an activity as a group. So lots of things are in there. A few quick notes. As I said, Isaac and Abraham, we are talking, they show up in the Old Testament stream for the Revised Common Lectionary. And this is what I would do for both Revised RCL and the Narrative Lectionary. This book, Willow Dean, is gold. It is like your biggest bang for the buck. It's written by Catherine Applegate. This book is fantastic. It is it's either the middle grades or the elementary age read-togethers. I can't remember which, but I would totally take this and I would use this and I would read as a book club throughout the summer with the families. There are 5 parts. Look, I outlined this. Like, this is what I would do. There are 5 parts here. Each part is between 50 and 58 pages. So that's like 20 pages a week that you would read aloud to people. It speaks to all sorts of themes. So darkness, community, wisdom, truth versus fiction, noticing signs, traveling difficulties, how a person feels when they're tricked, judged by appearance, what forgiveness looks like, what the world was like at creation. All of these would be themes that would show up in Willowdene and would all help prepare you for both the RCL and the narrative lectionary. And it would get you, if you read the first, you would read the first 2 parts before July when Isaac and Abraham come out. That gets you to a point for a conversation about what was really going on here. Is this something Abraham wanted to do? How was Isaac feeling? Why is this in the Bible? Why are we talking about this? It provides you a ground to have that conversation, because this story out of nowhere, very hard to do. I would absolutely read Willowdene. If you haven't read it yet, it's really an excellent book. The author does not know me at all. Like, I get nothing for telling you to read this book. It's really a fantastic book. My kids were blown away by it when we read it together in the fall. I'm like, oh, this totally needs to be used in ministry. So another thing I do want to emphasize here, we're looking for quality versus quantity. So anything you feel you need to whittle out before it goes to people, do that. We want everything to be meaningful. We don't want it to be overwhelming. So you can whittle down. That was everything I was going to share about this. What specific questions can I answer for you? That was a lot. I'm sorry. Did I stun you into silence?
I think Hallie's got a question.
Yeah.
Hallie.
I was going to ask your recommendation. I'm doing this summer. I'm doing kind of an we're focusing on intergenerational. So we're doing kind of a pop-up, what you would call a pop-up faith formation. We're doing a Bible and Fun in July and in August. And I really like some of these ideas that are in both of the packets. Which one would you recommend getting? And then just taking ideas from there. So I'm kind of struggling to, which one to get, either the family or the congregational guide. Or would you just recommend I get both?
Okay, because I know Hallie, because I know what Hallie's doing this summer. Hallie, honestly, I would go for both, because I know your church size, and it should be reasonable and fit into your budget, and it will give you the flexibility. You wouldn't have to do as much planning, I think, to be honest. Okay. Because I would piece together, because you're not doing midweek, it's all on a Sunday, correct?
Mm-hmm, yeah. I
would borrow from the read-alouds, the Visio, and the All Together Now, and the retreats for like a fun addition. So yeah, I'd do both. I would do both, Hallie.
Thank you.
I'm always looking for stuff for preschoolers, because we have a playground church that we have an outreach, a really great outreach for preschoolers. And so I'm going to make these kits for our vacation Bible school, and that's a little bit more elementary age, but I'm just trying to think like what will work especially for those younger kids. The bedtime blessings, sure.
The bedtime stories and prayers, the bedtime blessings, the collaborative art projects, but also there is a water play retreat in there that is so accessible to all ages, but the preschoolers, and I put in a specific part in there for preschoolers. I would look at that.
Okay, fun. Yeah, that might be fun for us to do in July at Playground Church.
Yeah.
It'll be plenty hot.
Oh my gosh.
North Carolina.
Sorry.
Yeah, fun. That's a good idea.
I'm trying to think what else preschool wise that I would really zero in.
I wasn't sure. I'll look at. I wasn't sure about the bedtime stories and prayers, because they are, I mean, they're preschoolers, but like
Yeah.
there's toddler, there's,
Yeah.
they're not the younger siblings, the 3-year-olds or the older siblings. And so there's like babies and they're 2, 3, and 4-year-old or 18-month-olds and their 4-year-old older siblings.
Yeah. I
They're
would
like
look at the
young,
preschool
young.
read-togethers because there's some really good ones in there.
Mhm.
They're also, this one, there's a good mix in the bedtime stories and prayers of things that age level up and level down. You can just do picture walks, but this one, it's simpler text. Can you see this okay with my
I can
weird
see
light?
it. I think I was wondering, just with kids that young, if they can, in a read aloud situation, even when they're right in front of me, I
Yeah.
can sometimes only get like 2 pages in, and so I wondered, especially if, if it was just me and my child and I can just put a child in my lap, it's a different story. But with a few kids
Yeah.
and they're 2, 3 years old, it can be hard to get through. And I just didn't know if they would focus through a Zoom reading.
That's when I would go more to the Sandra Boynton books because those are pretty
Yeah.
quick.
Yeah, exactly. Just keep it snappy.
Red hat, blue hat, green hat. Oops. Sorry, can you tell I've done that book a lot? Any other questions I can answer? So what I'm going to do is stick my email address in the chat here. Also, I can't talk and type at the same time. There, it's in the chat. So if you have other questions as you go through things, feel free to ping me. I'll get back to you as fast as I can. Sometimes I have to wait till my 2-year-old goes to bed because he likes to type to all of you also. Special times.
Thank you so much. This has been really helpful.
Good, good. I'm
Yeah,
glad.
we appreciate all of you. You'll get an email with a copy of this recording. You can feel free to share that. We're not pulling registrations really from any of this. We just required it to protect the space. Yeah, we'd love for you to share this information with anyone who would be helpful for.
Thank you all. It's an honor to be in ministry alongside all of you. Really.
Very much so. Bye, everyone. We wish you days full of peace and purpose. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.